Hello and welcome to Hairdressing Live. My name is Paul Davey, founder of Hairdressing Live and creative director of Davey. We're taking a huge influence from Freya Eriksson. She's an international style icon and model. So what we're going to do is actually, bring the length up a little bit more, but it's going to be quite layered and we're going to take a lot of weight out of this. So what I'm going to use in it beforehand, I'm going to be using some volume cream. This is an international product. Actually, you can get this all over the world. It's a lovely product to work with as a cutting agent. Not so much for volume. I know it says volume cream on it, but it's a lovely product to just put in and tame the hair down, freshly washed hair. I'm also going to work in another product called Plee. This is possibly the most popular one out of them all. And we're going to kind of leave a longer version of some of the pictures that I'm going to show you right now. You're going to get to see a various different lengths, but you'll get to see the influence of where I'm going with this haircut, okay? So I'm going to show you those right now. As you can see, we showed you Freya Eriksson there. There's a few different images of Freya. What we're going to do and how to approach this, there's many different ways to approach it, right? A profile parting from center forehead right the way through to center nape. I took a section, like a radial section, not from the crown, about an inch higher than the crown. If you can get the bird's eye view there. The crown's about here, so about an inch closer, and I'm coming to the top of the ear. I'm going to work with the front sections first, right? I'm going to work with the front sections first and layer all this in. Why? Is because I get to see the shape and work along and see how the layer's sitting, see how the hair is going to sit as well. So it's better to see it that way rather than working from the back forward. So I'm going to take my profile. I'm elevating up 90 degrees, but I'm going to elevate my fingers in about 45. Now, this first section here, I'm going to point cut it as well. The first section here is possibly the most important one. So I've left it a lot longer, right? I'm going to have to take it shorter now, but I'm just going to see how the hair is sitting. I'm going to go back to that profile. I have to take that shorter. And then I'm going to come up and I'm over directing my profile line to this line here, if that makes sense, right? So I'm not over directing my next section into the middle, so it gets longer. I'm still keeping this square through the top, okay? So it has to be square because I have to get those layers through the top areas. So there's always two parts to each haircut: the layers and the length, right? So the layers remove internal weight, but when you layer as heavily as this, it removes the length also. But the length will always be a little bit longer. So the way you layer hair, in the pictures that you see, this is a longer version of what you've seen in the influences there. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's working in 4 sections. Once you establish the first section, then the haircut will roll. So I'm just cross-checking to make sure that that's obviously a lot longer on that side, so I need to take a smaller section there. Just get that right. There we go. Okay, just checking the balance off that. So to carve this away, elevating everything, natural hair fall onto the face, curving this line down. See the way I'm just curving that line down? So, like I said, I'm going to work in 4 section patterns, at the front 2 sections and 2 back sections. I'm going to work on this section. I'm actually going to work with the layers, and I'm going to see how sort of wispy the edges are afterwards, and possibly just come through that and just finally cut that out afterwards. I've isolated this away. So this is one section, and I'm going to go right the way through the middle of that, and I'm going to elevate this onto, so all this is going to be layered. It's almost like a round layer all the way through the back. But I'm going to round layer it, and then I'm going to curve it into the rest of the hair. So I know myself where I'm going to come down to. See the occipital bone? The occipital bone here is where I round it to, and then from the occipital bone down, I just blend it through. So I keep that length in it. So you can see 90 degrees from the head shape. So the occipital bone there, as I work down, comes to that point, okay? So from there down, take my guide, slice that off into it.
If you like what we're doing, please leave a comment below and hit that subscribe button.
So whenever you're doing these, just make sure that you get this correct. That first section has to be correct, because that's going to take it off for the whole haircut then. I'm just point cutting this out a little bit more. And what I mean by like point cutting, actually it's called slicing, right? So I'm basically coming in and just pinching the hair and slicing that through. I'm going to pivot from that top part around in radial sections. So I'm going to grab that top bit first. Okay, I'm going to take that off. So as I'm working this way into it, from behind the ear, I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, so it's slightly disconnected from it. Okay, so coming to the bottom part, bringing it out this way. Why? It's because it keeps a bit more weight through the side areas. It's always important for you to know, you know, elevations and distribution. This is distribution of hair. Okay, so we have that blend all the way through. Longer bits coming down. Okay, so I'm just working on my last section over the side, of the right hand side. Just check the balance. You can see that's level, thankfully. You see here, so I'm pivoting in radial sections all the way through until I come right to the top of the ear. Okay. Taking a small section out. My elevation is going to be 90 degrees. Okay, 90 degrees from the head shape. Okay, like that. Upon my section. Okay, after that point, it actually over directs back. So I come round it a little bit and then over directs it back. So I keep that line square at the back of it. All right. Okay, so what I'm doing here now, I'm just going in just to release these shorter layers have been cut, so these shorter layers will actually sit quite heavy. So I'm actually just going in and just breaking that line up a little bit. So literally picking it up, same elevation, just point cutting them out. So like I said, there's 2 parts really. There's the layers and then there's the length. So I think we have that shape all sorted out. So now it's just to blow dry in, right? So we're going to blow dry this in. We're going to try and keep it as quickly as possible. I'm going to be using like a Moroccan oil medium round brush. And I'm just going to drag it out in a few different directions. I'm going to finish off with a little bit of, this is Techniart, and it's called Density Material. It's a wonderful product for like longer hair, shorter hair. There's no sort of hold in it. It just gives you a little bit of finish on the hair, and you know it's nice because when you know the heat from your hands just sort of tames the hair down a little bit more. It's a lovely product for that. So amazing. So let me just do a little recap. So this is the shag, right? It's like it's a proper, I mean, if you Google shag, there's loads of variations of this type of thing. It's basically taking a center forehead through to center nape. We took a section just above the crown and took a radial section to the top of the ear. So we were left with two sections through the top, through the front, and two sections through the back. We elevated, started with the front section first. This was our guide throughout the whole thing. We elevated our fingers in a little bit, like 45 degrees, and cut it shorter towards the front and left the crown area a little bit longer. We worked in horizontal sections and elevated directly up, basically, so it was almost cut square through the top. The sides over-directed up to the top of that, so it was almost cut square. But the way you work horizontal and over-direct up just is a different way of working, and it's an easy way of working. It's a very clean way of working, but you get to see the shape develop. So you get to see that length taken away, but it gives you that softness through there. Here, well, it does give you the shape, but you still have to go through and fine tune that afterwards by carving those areas away. The same was repeated on the opposite side. Obviously, each section you take, you check the balance, make sure that you level, and make sure that the sections are, you know, before you move to the next section. Otherwise, you go a lot longer on one side. That's, you know, self-explanatory. Then I released the back section. I took the guide from the front areas, and I took it right the way back into the nape. So took it right the way back into the nape. I worked a round layer to the curve of the occipital bone, and from the occipital bone down into the nape, I basically pinched the hair. I took my shortest point and used the heel of the scissor and scooped into that area. Okay, that released weight and it released a little bit of length through the bottom. I actually pivoted around in radial sections and elevated it directly and curved it around and kept it square through the back of the head to keep a little bit more weight through these areas. The same was repeated on the opposite side. Blow dried in as quickly as I possibly could, using my fingers, using a bit of a brush just to smooth it out on areas. Each client's going to be different, each individual is going to be slightly different, the way you approach it, different hairlines, different sort of hair growth patterns, different textures of hair. I hope you enjoyed that class and look at some of the other future classes that are coming up this year. It's important that you watch as many and share and like and comment on as many of the classes that we possibly have available to you right now. So I hope you enjoyed this class. I'll see you all soon.
Hi everyone, and thank you for watching. This is a highly trimmed down version of this technique. So if you want more information, you can head over to hairdressinglive.com, where we share with you lots of industry knowledge and full masterclasses.